Hey folks, Jeff Kinkade here. We need to talk. If anybody ever says those words to you, you know that nothing pleasant ever follows. Whatever else may be involved in the conversation, you're probably in for some criticism. How do you handle that? How do you listen without getting defensive? In this video, I'm going to tell you 3 secrets that leaders and people with high emotional IQs know about receiving criticism and listening without getting defensive that 99% of people don't. And if you know these secrets and apply them, they'll make your personal relationship stronger. Professionally, you'll stand out from your peers. Okay, let's go back to the last time that you received criticism. What was your response? See if any of these ring a bell. You panicked, you got angry, you obsessed about the conversation for days afterwards, you blamed other people. Maybe you even told the other person that they were wrong for criticizing you in the way that they were criticizing you. Well, of course, all of those are signs of defensiveness, which is a very natural response to criticism. But there's a steep price to be paid personally and professionally for being defensive. On the personal side, it destroys relationships from the inside out because it fosters an environment of distrust. You don't trust the person who criticized you, and they don't trust that they can be honest with you. And professionally, it stunts your growth if you can't learn to hear and accept constructive criticism without getting defensive. So what is it that great leaders and people with high emotional IQs know that 99% of people don't? Well, the first secret has to do with your mindset about making mistakes or failing. Most people have the mindset that to make a mistake or to fail is to be wrong, like it's a commentary on your worth and your value as a human being, which is why your survival mechanism sets in when you get criticized and you get defensive. But effective leaders and people with high emotional IQs have come to terms with the fact that making mistakes and failing is part of being human. Even more, and here's your first secret, they know that the only way to grow is to fail and to make mistakes. Success teaches you almost nothing. Failure and mistakes, on the other hand, provide opportunities for exponential growth personally and professionally. A psychologist by the name of Carol Dweck wrote a book called Mindset, and she talks about the fact that people with a growth mindset see learning opportunities even in mistakes and failures. And so if you can change the way that you think about mistakes and failures, you can just accept whatever criticism is offered and move on without falling into a death spiral of despair. Now, some of you already know this secret from your own experiences. If you have made mistakes, if you failed in some way and learned some profound lessons from those mistakes and failures, please tell us in the comments section below. We would all benefit from reading and hearing those. Okay, moving on to the second secret. Some of the criticism that you will receive, especially in your professional life, will be objective criticism. In other words, you objectively didn't code this correctly, or you made a mistake in your calculations, or you didn't fill out this form correct. But the most difficult criticism that you're going to receive will be subjective criticism, meaning that someone draws conclusions about you based upon their perception or their preferences. So as an example, when I moved to Dallas from the Midwest a long time ago, people told me that I was aloof because while Midwesterners are very friendly people, they're not quite as demonstrative about it as people from the South are. Now back then I didn't really understand the difference between subjective and objective criticism, and so my tendency was to hear that as an absolute objective criticism, like they're absolutely right and I was absolutely wrong, which sparks defensiveness. But if I heard that criticism today, I'd realize that was about Southern cultural preferences. But still, the people giving me that criticism, regardless of whatever their motives were telling me something important about people from the South and how to relate to them. And that's your second secret. Effective leaders and people with high emotional IQs hear subjective criticism as insight into how to relate to the other person. So if you think about it, it would have been pointless for me to argue with those people about whether I really was aloof or not. How would you ever convince someone who thinks that you're aloof that you're not aloof? So the best thing to do is to listen to it, realize that it's not an objective, absolute criticism, but take it as insight into the other person and use that so that you can build trust. And that leads me to my third secret. And this has to do with what you do with the criticism that's offered. Imagine that someone gives you some criticism and you don't do anything with it. What does that convey to the person who gave you the criticism? Well, it conveys that it doesn't matter, that you don't really care what they think, maybe that you're too prideful to receive criticism, none of which fosters trust or deeper relationship. Great leaders and people with high emotional IQs know this, and this is the third secret, that change in response to criticism builds trust and admiration. One of the most endearing things that you can do is to listen to people, which is why the most effective leaders, by the way, are great listeners. And you can convey that you've heard someone by working to change. In my case, I could ask the people who gave me the criticism about being aloof about how I'm doing. Am I getting any better at conveying interest and being personable? Am I any less aloof than I was in the past? And the fascinating thing is that as you ask those questions, it shows that you want to change. And it turns to the person offering the criticism into an ally, because it shows them that their opinion matters to you, that you really care about what they think, and that you want to change. Okay, those are the 3 secrets that great leaders and people with high emotional IQs know about listening without getting defensive. But if you don't know how to put those secrets into practice, they won't make any difference. So make sure and check out part 2 of listening without getting defensive. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I'd love to read about what you have learned about listening without getting defensive. Please, in the comments section below, tell us. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button down below. Let me know what you liked in the comments section. And be sure to subscribe for new videos every week on the subject of communication and relationship skills. I'll see you next week.